Moving on now, reports coming out of Syria suggest that government forces are making major advances in the battle against foreign-backed insurgents. Military sources say army forces have recaptured several areas in the flashpoint province of Aleppo, including al-Zarzour, al-Naqarin, and Talet al-Ta'ani. The developments come against the backdrop of deadly infighting among al-Qaeda-linked insurgents and rival militant groups fighting to topple the Syrian government. More than 100,000 people have died since the unrest broke out in Syria back in 2011. Well, to get the latest on that, we're now joined by Muhammad Ali, Press TV's correspondent, who's joining us live now from the Syrian capital. Now, Muhammad, tell us a bit more about these government forces' advances.
Yes, of course. As you know, the Syrian government continues to fight the foreign-backed militants in various parts of the country. Clashes have happened recently and intensified in Aleppo and its countryside. The recent developments is that the Syrian army units over there, according to an official military source, managed to regain control of 4 main areas in Aleppo countryside, which are al-Naqarin, al-Zarzour, Talet al-Ta'ani, and al-Mijbil. 4 areas on a main road in east of Aleppo. Those were the latest victory for the Syrian army after defeating the armed men over there. What we know is that after the army took control of those areas, it started to dismantle the mines and the explosive devices planted by the militants on main roads there and inside the houses of the people and around the houses of the people in those area and the residents. In addition to that, there were several clashes that happened also inside the city of Aleppo. Today, in the old city, actually, the areas of the old city of Aleppo witnessed most of the clashes between army units and the foreign-backed insurgents. The Syrian army has killed about 5 militants in an ambush in al-Azamiyya area in the city of Aleppo. In addition to that, army units also killed 10 other militants in al-Dabbabiya area close to Aleppo. So you can see that there are clashes happening inside the city and on its outskirts in the countryside. It is actually a very volatile area there because of the large number and the variety of armed groups fighting there, and of course, in addition to the Syrian government fighting them all, you have the ISIL, Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, you have al-Qaeda-linked al-Nusra Front, the Islamic Front, and FSA brigades. So it is a very dangerous area, an area always witnessing clashes, especially in the northern countryside of Aleppo, because it is a very strategic area as it links Turkey with Aleppo, and it is considered the main gateway for the armed men for having more supplies and more militants infiltrating from Turkey.
Right, so Mohammed, tell us how does it affect the government's work and the army's work when it comes to this infighting among these insurgent groups?
Well, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing for the Syrian army at the same time. I mean, you have those armed men clashing with each other only for gaining more ground. They all want only more ground, more power on Syrian territories. And at the same time, it is good for the government because they're fighting each other and sometimes they're killing each other. But also it is making the area much more dangerous for the civilians over there. And as you know, the Syrian government in all its operations, military operations, the priority for the Syrian government is to keep the civilians safe over there. However, you know that usually the foreign-backed militants, they infiltrate, they attack a city, they displace the civilians. Sometimes they use them as human shields, and they use, of course, their houses and apartments as strongholds and positions for fighting the Syrian army. So what is the negative point is that those armed men, while fighting each other, they continue to shed more blood of the civilians there, while the Syrian government tries to push them back and at the same time tries to keep the civilians safe as much as possible in those areas. So it is a very volatile area, it is a very dangerous one, and we are expecting to continue to see more fighting to intensify, especially as the Geneva II conference gets closer, because you know those armed men have all said it very clearly that they are against such a solution, peaceful solution, and they will continue fighting on ground.